Do you believe he's dissing Rihanna?
He's obviously dissing Rihanna.
Yeah, he's dissing Rihanna.
I think we can move on from that one. He's obviously dissing Rihanna.
He's dissing Rihanna and ASAP. He called the sex average. How does he know that the sex is average? Is a little bit of an interesting question.
I heard conflicting reports, which I think is so funny. And I'm like, just imagine that the internet is out here arguing whether or not two people had sex. No, whether it happened.
Yeah.
Whether it happened. Good afternoon, beautiful people. This is another episode of Album Mode. We review a new album every single week. We look at the lyrics, the production, the overall aesthetic of the album, and how that album fits into the context of that artist's career. For all the beautiful people on YouTube, make sure you like this video, share, and of course, subscribe. My name is Adriel Smiley, a.k.a. AdrielSmiley.com, a.k.a. Adriel Smiley Official, a.k.a. The Godfather, and we are here with His Royal Highness, a.k.a. The Bunny, King Grant.
What's happening, people? We're back. This time it's with Drake, For All the Dogs. Drake, singer, songwriter, rapper from Toronto, Canada. I think we should start doing that more frequently.
Where people are from?
Just identifying the person, you know, what they do, who they are, all that good stuff. So For All the Dogs, it's a hip-hop, R&B, sometimes Latin, sometimes rage, sometimes more R&B, sometimes it's
all those things.
Yeah, with sometimes Jersey Club as well.
Sure.
Right. So we're back. It's Fat D, as they call it on the interwebs.
Fat D.
Yeah. So Drake is back. I think it's been a year since the previous, or maybe even less than.
I think it's been less than a year.
Maybe like 11 months, 10 months.
It's close to.
Yeah.
Her Loss came out in November 2022.
Yeah, so 11 months. And he's back again, dropping an album I'm not sure that we asked for, but it is here. That's how I feel about it right now, currently. Or I would say that's how I felt like going into the album.
Wow.
An album that we did not necessarily ask for, but it is here. What about you? How did you feel about going in?
I think there's one thing I thought about a lot was the podcast we did maybe a month ago. This is before Slime You Out, when he was still on tour promoting the project. And I said, this is an era that we haven't seen before, where it seems like people want to like this Drake album.
Yeah.
They want to enjoy it. They want it to be a hit. And I think that from that point, whenever that podcast was, someone can tell us when that was, things have changed. I think that wanting to like the project definitely kind of fell a bunch of spots, up until the project coming out. I think Slime You Out didn't help with that. I think whatever he had with Charlemagne didn't help with that. I think changing the date didn't help with that. And so, personally, I'm always excited for Drake music. He is honestly, at this point, the biggest rapper ever. And to see what he does next is always interesting to me. But I think that he lost that quality that he doesn't always have. People want to like his music because as popular as he is, people are looking to hate his music most of the time.
You were looking forward to this coming out?
No, I'm saying everyone was. Like,
okay.
When he was still on tour about a month ago, before all this stuff happened, people wanted to like this project. Everyone was excited for what this project could be. Just the name, people were saying about it. It's like we're sort of removed from that now, hearing the project and hearing Slime You Out, his things with Charlemagne, all the Yachty clips that have come out. But there was a time when I felt like everyone wanted to like the project. And I think that definitely just wasn't the case here. Yeah,
I think that things have tampered down significantly. And we're at the point now where it's like now that it's out, Drake's music is basically just like a social media machine. It's like a content machine because of how immensely popular he is. People just rip it apart, just like looking for nuggets, or was he this and that person, this and this person, what did he say about Esmeralda Spalding? Is that a diss to Rihanna? I think that his music is just social media fuel in a lot of ways. That's like the Twitter discourse.
Yeah.
Then you're like, basically people just mine Drake lyrics for Instagram captions.
100%.
And then there's like discourse on like TikTok is just like now a discourse machine.
Yep.
So it's just always as soon as it comes out, there's gonna be social media stuff. So I feel like the anticipation has been paid off in that sense because everybody's talking about it.
And something I didn't realize people were doing, but some people are kind of putting opinions and putting thoughts out there before hearing the project. I know people are really doing this, but the discourse is at such a high level.
Yeah.
If that's the business you're in, you're kind of paid off by doing that because people do want to talk about this project instantaneously.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter how you feel about it. You choose a side, people are ready to debate you.
Yeah, even like, I was out and about this weekend and I was like a lightning rod for opinion. Like people, any person I came across, if they knew who I was, that was like the second thing that they said to me. They're like, hey, how's it going? Have you heard the Drake album?
Yep.
So I think that it's his music is always going to be like that. I think it's always going to be like that, especially considering the subject matter that he raps and sings about, right? It's always going to be salacious.
Yes.
Right? It's always there's always going to be a whisper, a rumor, et cetera, et cetera. There's always going to be something like that.
And Drake is a name dropper. I think that's a big difference we got to say from now. And if it's not even directly the name, he wants you to know who he's talking about. He doesn't need this to like resurface in 6 years and, I didn't know. No, he wants you to know that he mentioned. I saw a couple of parallels with this project because this is, basically 15 years in the game now for Drake, holding our attention for this entire time. Has been very impressive. His 8th full-length studio album. He's following up his house-based project, Honestly Nevermind, in June of 2022.
Yep.
And then a few months later, a collab project with 21 Savage and Her Loss. And I've been thinking a lot about this whole run for Drake, this run in total. He's had, this attention from us for so long. Now, since 2016, he's put out a body of work every single year. And, before that, it was a couple of years between projects. Take Care in 2011, Nothing Was the Same in 2013. If you're reading this in 2015, and then, he did another double, What a Time to Be Alive, also in 2015. And I compared that to some of the biggest rappers we've ever had in this business. And, how long their run was going, album after album after album. First one that came to mind was Jay-Z, Reasonable Doubt in 96, and an album every year until the Black Album in 03. And that run was almost so, tiresome and strenuous. He retired. He said, I can't do this anymore. It's been every single year. I need a break.
Drake is doing something similar. He said that he is taking a break for releasing music.
You're reading the tea leaves, my friend.
Yeah.
And then Kingdom Come, he comes back in 06. But, you see that run, kind of forced him into retirement, so to speak. Kanye West, 04 to 08, the Taylor Swift incident happens. In 09, he takes some time off, and we get Twisted Fantasy in 2010 and Watch the Throne in 2011. And then Eminem, who had a run, I would say he probably was the closest to this Drake run in terms of popularity and a worldwide notability. But Marshmallow's LP in 2000, Encore in 2005. We know what happened with Eminem, and we don't see him again until 2009 with Relapse. Drake is probably the only person of this ilk to not have some kind of step away, some kind of retirement, some kind of, taking time off.
Yeah.
It seems like he's headed in that direction. But I wanted to mention that because most of these guys, excluding Jay, their run was shorter than Drake's.
Right.
And less music than Drake's. So he's putting out, more music for a longer span of time without any breaks.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're entering into here is where there is some kind of Drake fatigue, I feel like, just as a collective, because all Drake and why I highlight this is the difference between Drake and Jay-Z is Jay-Z wasn't the biggest artist when Reasonable Doubt came out. 2016 is Views. That's Views, that's Scorpion. Drake has our attention in full at the start of this run. Think of Marshall Mathers LP. That came as a surprise to a lot of people. They're just hearing about Eminem. They didn't know who he was. Same thing with Kanye West. So this is even more attention for a run like this than we've seen before. And I think that's part of how we're listening to this project because that Drake fatigue is there. We're hearing hundreds of, in 2 years, you've probably heard almost 100 songs.
Yeah.
In just the last 2 years, So it's like, if you think about that kind of output from someone, it's almost impossible to have refreshing ears when you hear this.
Yeah, I think that Drake, to me, when I'm like listening overall this entire stint, just like everything, but especially lately, Drake is like operating like Gucci Mane or something like that, where he feels like he needs to drop an album every 6 months, every year. Right. And I don't understand why he feels that way. I think he signed a deal, like a new deal, relatively recently.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling there's some sort of contract stipulation or something like that.
It's a lifetime deal if anyone's wondering.
Yeah. So but it was like a huge amount of money.
400 million. Yeah.
It was crazy money. But I think that he's like operating like Gucci Mane. Like he's operating like
Lil Wayne,
Gucci Mane, like this section of hip hop that he frankly he is not really a part of, and also hip hop has kind of like moved away from that like type of sphere where like artists feel like they have to drop an album every 6 months. Like people would be like, oh yeah, every year that'd be cool. Every 2 years,
it's more than that. And you're right, because honestly, Nevermind was, Certified Lover Boy was in September.
Yeah.
Honestly, Nevermind was in June.
Right.
So it's like, that's 2 in 1 school year if you want to even count it that. Like,
yeah, exactly. So I've always been, I am hashtag, I don't even know if there's a real team, but I'm gonna start right now. I'm a hashtag Drake drops too much music person. But I'm so serious.
No,
though.
I know.
I'm so serious. He releases music so frequently that it becomes, it devalues his art. Right.
I think it does. And one thing I thought about with this is, him compared to his peers. The big song from this project that everyone's been talking about is the song with him and J. Cole. Yeah. First Person Shooter, which is probably going to be J. Cole's first #1 song.
Yeah. J. Cole was washing him on that, by the way. He was washing him.
Clean. But the J. Cole's, Kendricks of the worlds, they are more what most of today's music is, at least for the heavy hitters. Now we have Future, who's more in the Drake lane. Yeah. And Drake's even outdoing Future, which says a lot. Yeah. But, Kendrick, J. Cole, ASAP, Big Sean, all the guys who came up with this group, Drake's the only one who behaves like this. Yeah. And so I like that you mentioned that, because this is not everyone else doing this. Drake is not competing with anyone, so to speak. This is Drake doing this for Drake reasons, I'll say. But you're right, this is not something that everyone is doing. One thing about this project that it was like probably one of the first things I wrote in my notes in the middle of the page was, I don't like rap production Drake anymore. I feel like Drake's rap production, it like, and I'll say this, the maybe even the more hip hop side of his production, the more like club type of stuff, that energy, I haven't liked any Drake song really like that in a long time. Her Loss was so good to me for that reason, is it kind of gave me some more of that I could enjoy. But I think when Drake gets into that like club type of
You didn't like the Sexy Red song? That's the Sexy Red song.
Sexy Red is more like, DC bounce. That's everything. There's not, I don't go to clubs that play a bunch of that kind of sound. Yeah. That's more like a unique thing.
Okay, I thought you were talking about that song.
I'm talking more about songs like Daylight and even Calling for You a little bit. Like, Daylight reminds me of Still from the Views era. And I don't need to hear Drake on that kind of production. I think,
me neither. I've never liked that. Nonstop. I never liked Nonstop.
Yeah. You've always not liked Nonstop.
I never liked Nonstop, but people loved it, and I just didn't get it. Yeah, that was one of those tracks I just didn't understand it.
And I think too, it's like, here's the thing to me: Daylight is where Drake sounds more like the middle. Yeah, like Drake sounds like a Lil Baby, a Gunna, a Money Bag. That's more where he sounds in that lane. Drake don't need that from you. Respectfully, like, I don't ever hear a Lil Baby song and be like, I would love to hear Drake on this. Right. Those days are long gone. We got what we got. So that's
Pikachu. Pikachu was great.
I think we got what we got. Yeah. We got what we got. But that was the first thing to me where I was like, I do want to hear Drake rap, but I am particular in a way of like what kind of rap production I want to hear Drake on, because, Daylight is the one that stands out, but there's a bunch of them on here, where you're like, do we need Drake on this? So that's the thing to me, is like, there's a lot of that on here. It kind of, is holdover from the Her Loss era. Yeah. But I don't 21, can you do something for me? I don't need 10 more of those. Yeah. I don't need it.
Yeah. My thoughts about Drake have gone, all over the place. I think that that's not true. I feel like my initial criticism or initial take on Drake is still the same. where I'm like, pick a direction, right? I think that on this album, right, Fat D, for all the dogs. For all the dogs, I think that, well, I think the overall criticism with Drake's music right now is that like it's like there's no evolution, lack of evolution.
Oh, I have that in here too.
Right? And I think that there has been, if you look at the trajectory of like his entire career, there has been evolutions, but he's now stuck in like a holding pattern, I think, where he jumped from like, you know, the sad boy rapping and singing, to he's a little bit like a little bit more mafioso trap banger type deal, like with Future and Gun and Young Thug and them. But then he kind of got stuck in that sphere, and he has not been able to escape that. Right, he did like, you know, his Hotline Blings and his I'm trying to think of the.
I would love another Hotline Bling right now.
I would kill for another Hotline Bling.
How crazy is that? It's like I would love a Hotline Bling right now.
A Hotline Bling. But what was the other song on Views that was super huge? The tropical one.
One
Pop
Dance.
Style.
Pop Style. Pop Style. I don't think that was on Views, but
One Dance though.
One Dance and the one with Popcorn, Controller,
right? So he had that little Caribbean tropical type of sound, right? He had it and then left it. Like he had it for like maybe an album, 2 albums, because he did on More Life too.
Yeah,
and that was it. And he stepped away, and now he's like stuck in this trap banger sphere when it comes to his rap music.
You bring up a good point,
and he has not left it. So when people talk about, he hasn't evolved, like people are talking about the lyrics when they're like, he doesn't evolve, and he like drops rapping about the same stuff, which he is. I mean,
that's what's happening.
Drake raps about women, and the idea that women consistently leave him for people that he deems lesser than him.
I got something to break to Drake, but everyone makes less money than you.
Yeah, you're in the Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk fucking sphere right now. Like everybody's making a lot less money.
Unless your girl's gonna leave you for Diddy, Hove, or Elon.
Yeah, like you're in a very
that's
like
funny.
It's a stratosphere right now, right? So that's what actually. So that hasn't changed, right? But people are like, they're flipping it back on his lack of evolution. The lack of evolution is actually happening, like in sound. For example,
yes,
you can. For example, The Weeknd. The Weeknd still sings about the same shit.
Yep.
Right. Still singing about women. Still singing about drugs.
Yeah.
Still singing about women and drugs. Still singing about which location that he wants to be in, and he kind of hates this place. He hated Toronto and then he left, and then he was in LA and then he hated LA, and then he was in Vegas and he hates Vegas. So it's the same. Same with Montreal. There was a song called Montreal, which you were talking. So it's the same, but the sound has drastically changed. Like if you think about multiple times, what House of Balloons sounds like, then what's Beauty Behind the Madness sounds like, and then to Starboy, and then to After Hours, and then Dawn FM. Dawn FM and After Hours are the same soundscape, but those drastic. Drake, it has not drastically, like the lyrics, what he raps about is the exact same.
Yeah.
Fine. But the sound is not drastically changing enough so that it sounds like there's no evolution, even though his last evolution was like, What a Time to Be Alive.
Yeah.
Where he was starting to do trap stuff like Future. But that was in 2015, 16.
I would say the evolution really ends at More Life in 2017.
Right.
Because Views is after What a Time, and that, we talked about what was on Views.
Yeah.
More Life is where he kind of blends in, I would say What a Time, Views, and then some UK sounds. But, here's what I think is really happening. And I have no reporting on this. This is me just hearing the music.
Yeah.
I brought this up last week with Jorja Smith, and it's crazy because Drake is doing the exact thing I didn't want Jorja Smith to do. And I feel like he's giving us every idea he has.
Yeah.
Every idea in his phone.
He's been doing that for like 4 album releases though.
And that's where I'm getting to. What would Pluto do is very much Jumbotron shit popping. Yeah. It is very much the same. And he has a lot of projects. You sent me a TikTok where we're talking about the same beat for 5 straight albums. Yeah. that Astro part. It's like, there's probably 4 or 5 songs on here where it's like, this is from a previous album, a previous session.
Yeah.
That song with 21 Savage, I think it's called Calling For You.
Yeah, that could have been on Her Loss easily.
Definitely came from the Her Loss era. And so it's like, I get it. These songs worked the first time, something similar. But again, Drake has puts out so much music. Drake, you're forgetting Jumbotron Shit Poppin' was not that long ago.
Yeah, it was literally last year.
You know, so it's like the fatigue of these songs, I think, is there. So production wise, that is the biggest issue, is that he's really sampling himself from 18 months ago.
Yeah.
You know, and
not even 10 years ago, which he does have. 10 years ago, Drake is a real thing that he could do.
And that would be fine. But this recent thing of like, we just heard this, you're doing this again. Because I think, honestly, a lot of this album was done a year ago. And I think that some of these came together late. I think the SZA came together late. I think the Sexy Red came on late. You know, he talked about J. Cole, that was done about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of this album was done around the same time. CLB, Her Loss, you know, all those tracks were done. And it's pretty clear here. There is one thing I do want to, I'll say, push back a little bit on. Is Slime You Out. I think that song sounds better on the project.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't change how I feel about the project.
No, it doesn't.
One song can't save it. But I'll say Slime You Out sounds way better on the project. And I think now hearing the full project and then hearing Slime You Out and 8 a.m., I think Drake might be losing his touch a little bit in terms of like what works, what singles should be. Because, you know, think about production wise, he doesn't have to repeat some of these sounds.
Right.
You know, as much as these are good, like, you don't need to repeat some of these sounds. What Pluto do could have been an outro on another song. And that could have been, you know, 2 songs put together. And then on top of that, there's a few songs on here I think are single worthy before Slime You Out and 8 a.m.
Yeah.
You know, I think that initial blurb he wrote in his book, Titles Ruin Everything.
Did you read the book?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. That's like shit, man.
No.
You're deep in the Drake sphere.
Original blurb he wrote in the book, saying, they missed the old Drake, Girl Don't Tempt Me. Yeah. That I think had everyone's wheels turning. Oh, we're gonna get Take Care Drake. We're gonna get rapper Drake. And I think that even him being aware that that's what people were looking for, he didn't choose singles that went with that. Yeah. You know, I'm sure he's aware that everyone was saying it's gonna be rap Drake. This is what it is, and you know, he could have put out singles that fit more in that lane. So I think Drake is maybe losing a little bit of touch of what the streets are saying about, what people are saying about him, and I think what fits, because there's, first of all, way too many songs on this project. Let's say that. Yeah. But
oh my God, there's 24. What the fuck?
But there's probably 10 songs better than Slime You Out as a single. Yeah. And so for him to make that as a single is like, at this point in your career, you should know better than that.
Yeah. I think Drake is also suffering from what I think is happening in hip hop overall, where the sound has stagnated. What hip hop sounds like today versus what it sounds like 5 years ago is actually very similar. Yep. And I think that because Drake, so that's already happening, right? And I think everybody who is a hip hop listener can recognize and acknowledge that
not everybody, but I get what you're saying.
If you're actually paying attention, how about that? If you're actually paying attention, you can understand that there's stagnation that's happening, right? Like Drip or Drown 2, I think came out 5 years ago.
Yeah, somewhere around that. Yeah.
So with Drip or Drown 2 and what Drake is dropping right now, that's not that crazy of a difference, right? 5 years ago was 2018, right? So Die Lit came out, right? Die Lit came out, and like, you know, when you're listening to something like what Playboi Carti is dropping and what Yeet is dropping, that's in the same sphere, right? So there hasn't been a drastic change in the sound. And then for him to be as prolific as he is actually producing this situation where there's diminishing returns, right? You're like, heard it. And actually I'm hearing it not even just by you all the time, hearing it by everybody all the time, right? So even when he can have a song like I Don't Give a Fuck with Yeet, I've already heard 3 Yeet albums before hearing this. And those songs are also way better. It doesn't hold a candle to a schmuck.
Not at all.
A schmuck, sorry. You know, sorry about that. Not even close, right?
Before you go on, this song started out hopeful. This was my production as well. Like the intro to the song,
Yeah, I was like, oh, this.
Yeah, and it's funny. It got me more than once. I know the song. I heard it a second time, and I said, "Oh, this is What to Bang."
Yeah.
And then I said, "Oh, it's the same."
Yeah, I was also like, wait, how does Yeet fit on a song like this? Right? Because it was like this like almost intergalactic intro that was happening. It was very slow, almost like Daft Punk kind of intro. And I was like, whoa, how does Yeet fit on this? And then it dropped into the Benny X. Big shout out for Benny X, by the way.
Yeah, that's a big plug.
Fingerprints all over this, John.
Him and Conductor, yeah.
And I did not, if 2 years ago you were like, yeah, Benny X is gonna be doing Drake shit, you'd be like, how?
That's true. I don't think we mentioned Drake basically at all in any of our Yeet reviews.
Yeah, exactly. So for him to make that crossover, great for him. But I think that his proliferation in a time where the sound has stagnated is actually hurting him double, because now it's like I'm hearing similar versions of past you, similar versions of current you, and similar versions of everybody. Yeah. That is also influenced by you. Yeah. So it's just too much of you. there's too much you happening. And this is, again, like, you drop too much fucking music. So it hurts. It's hurting you every time you drop, new stuff, right? So
too much of you is hilarious.
Yeah, there's too much you. We need some space. Okay. So I think that's my big thing with Drake, which I think I've said it every time, but this one is a little bit different. Where usually I'm like, pick a direction. I still feel that way because 24 songs, and it's an hour and a half. Like that's ridiculous. It's a movie, but a movie I don't want to watch, but I'm forced to because I got to do this podcast.
Yeah, it's tough for him. I think that the one thing he has done not well over the past 5-6 projects is he definitely, I like that he's reaching down to the younger crowd, him just doing a song with Yeet is huge. Chief Keef, huge. His song that he has with Cardi off Dark Lane demo tape,
Sexy Red,
it's huge that he even has these songs. But I think that what he's done wrong in almost every instance is him, I think, dictating the direction. And I think that none of these songs he's done with any of these artists have been as good as their catalog if you're a fan of them. If you're a Yeet fan, you're probably happy to even see him on the Drake project, but this is not going at the top of your playlist.
This is C grade, all of them. C grade SZA on Slime Y'all, C grade Yeet. This is C grade Tizo Touchdown. He did his thing.
Tizo is the best feature on here.
Yeah, he did his thing.
Sorry, other than J. Cole. Tizo and J. Cole
did their thing, but Party Next Door? Come on.
Well, no, that's good Party. I think Party is the only one in which he can do that. I actually have that in my notes of like, that's like classic Party production. Yeah. And it's like him and Party are still, still shooting a good percentage. Yeah.
This is the Gently, but with Bad Bunny.
Not
that's
good.
Bad. Like,
not
come
good.
on, bro.
That
one is actually just like, that one is
and Drake, here's the thing. Drake has too many songs like that. And I think that it's almost in DJ Khaled territory. Yeah. Where it's like, this is just a moment. It's a moment. Yeah. Because even the song with him and J. Cole, as much as I love that song, that's probably their worst song together. Like, if we're being honest, that's probably their worst song together.
Yeah, Jodeci Freestyle is probably their best one, though.
No, Jodeci Freestyle, probably In the Morning, still better than this.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like,
In the Morning.
Drake is creating these moments, and Drake is huge. So these are obviously big moments. But I do think that the actual art itself is suffering because Drake and Yeet could have made an amazing song together. Yeah. Drake and Chief Keef could have made an amazing song together. Drake and SZA, each time, even though Samuel sounds better, Drake and SZA could have been something absolutely crazy. And I think the one thing I'll say production-wise, this is probably one of my last notes, is that as much as this is, especially the rap part of it is very generic for what we've been hearing the past 5 years, a lot of these songs production-wise would be hits on other albums.
You think so? I don't think so.
I think there's some of them. Just because Drake has certain sounds on here that are just like, it's just him. There's no one else who raps. Even Virginia Beach. I thought about Virginia Beach and I'm like,
that's solid.
Say Drake just sang on that and had someone else rap. Lil Baby even. Drake does the singing part, the rapping part. Drake doesn't rap. Lil Baby comes in. Right. That would be huge in Lil Baby's catalog. Right, huge, so it's like, there are songs like on here where it's like, again, it's Drake fatigue. We've heard Virginia Beach, we've heard Drake do a million times. Yeah. If there's a Virginia Beach on the new Ross and Meek album, we're going to be ecstatic.
Exactly. And I like that you said that it's on the other person's album, right? Because I think that is like he's kind of a symptom of that is in the album overall. It's like I don't give a fuck. That's a Yeet song.
Yep.
That he just so happens to rap first on, or like
and made it worse.
Yeah, and legitimately made it worse, right? Because that's a very much like textbook Yeet song. Same thing with even Slime You Out. That's more of a SZA track than it is a Drake track, and the Drake part is the weakest part. And then there's even Rich Baby Daddy. That song,
I don't even know what that is.
Sexy. I think Sexy Red is doing really good on that. I think she's really good on the hook.
She does, but that's not like a Sexy Red song or a Drake song or a SZA song.
Right. And then there's Gently, which is a Bad Bunny song. But again, Drake is going first, so it's Drake's song. But I think that he's adopting other people's sounds, but making a worse version of it.
Yeah, Drake gotta stop doing Drake songs. Like,
but I also thought about that. I'm like, what's Drake's sound right now? Really? Because there was a time where you were like, Drake's sound is the Underwater Effect, right? Underwater Effect, which is like the low pass filter, right? And then raps, and then underwater, sings, then he brings it back up, raps again. Think of like Aston Martin music.
Yep.
Even though he's a feature for that, but he goes underwater to sing his part.
Well, everyone knows that's a Drake song he gave to Ross, so you can count that, yeah.
So, and then you just think of like the previous other albums, like this is the rap, underwater, sing, then bring it up, and then rap again, right? There's so many of his songs that are like that. I feel like over time, he's kind of lost what a quote unquote Drake song is. Like what that sound is not definitive to him much anymore.
And I'll say this, even though some of these songs are good individually, the middle section from Slime You Out to Bahamas Promises, Tried Our Best, Members Only, that is what the traditional Drake sound has been. Those like slower records. But that's kind of the most boring part of this,
I agree.
of this project. One last thing for production, 7969 Santa.
Yeah.
That's Privileged Rappers Part 2. Drake is really just using these over again. The best part of that production-wise is the Tizo touchdown, like, at the end when he does that little bridge. One of the best parts of the album entirely. And then Snoop as like this radio host at the end of that song. I don't have a problem with that because I'll say this. We did love it when The Weeknd did it on Dawn FM.
We did.
He did it, I think, a better job of it for sure.
And also it was a total motif of the entire album.
And that's my point here is like, why are we at song 8 and all of a sudden Snoop's on the radio?
Yeah.
And I think there's another song where I think it's Sade who's speaking on there. But I think, I must have seen that before. It's not a new thing. Snoop Dogg Doggy Style is probably one of the most famous times that's been done. But that's something we've seen before.
Yeah.
But if that had been the motif of this project, that probably would have helped it be easier to listen to being so long.
That's true.
It's like this was one of the first Drake albums I had to like
stop. I had to stop. I did have to stop.
Hey, let me go do something.
Yeah, and then come back. Yeah.
And so it's like, I think that I don't want to call that a miss entirely because I think that was a good idea, but why is that coming in at song 8? That could have been there from song 1 and throughout the whole entire project. So that's a misstep for me where 7969 Santa is one of the better songs on here.
I agree.
It is another recycle, but it's funny. This is where Drake is like, I just told you the song is Privileged Rappers Part 2. It's still a very good song.
Yeah.
So it's like he's doing the things that we don't want him to do in terms of like recycling old sounds, doing things we've heard before, but sometimes they work.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes.
Not sometimes. And so on here it's like this, I think a lot of these songs on here, and we're going to get to lyrics soon, is like, these are a lot more singles. This is a lot of singles. And like, this is probably I'd say the third or fourth Drake album that's felt like more a playlist than an album. And so it's like a song like 7969, that has album written all over it. That has album written all over it. That could have been more the tenor of the project, even including the radio thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, all the songs before it, you hear those and you're like, yeah, these is all, single records.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that was a priority here, it seemed.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that also 7969 Santa, it is one of the better songs. Like the production, I think that is one thing about the production where I feel like Drake's music could evolve is like those like airy synths being like really prominent, because before when I was talking about like the underwater effect, was like warbly and kind of, it felt like it was underwater.
Yeah.
For this, it feels like you're almost like on an astral plane.
Yep.
right? And I think that's something that Drake. I don't know if he has. I don't
No,
like.
I think that's the answer to your question. I think this is the new Drake sound because this is now a few albums in a row that kind of fit this mold.
But it's not that. But it's only like a handful of songs, right? But this would be the clear evolution, right? But I don't think that it doesn't happen enough for me to be like
not enough.
To be honest with you, sorry. It doesn't happen frequently enough for me to think that he knows that is what is supposed to be happening. Like, it doesn't happen frequently enough. The amount of times that I'm like, oh, that's sick. I wish he was doing. Remember the Drake remix album that I talked about?
Yeah.
This is what it sounds like.
Yes.
Right? That is
production-wise,
yeah. Production-wise, that's what it sounds like, where you're like on an astral plane. When I think about this, when I listen to 7969 Santa, the mental image that I have is like it's like the ground is like Drake is wearing like all white. The ground is like clear, and he's just like on a literal like just like endless plane.
Yep.
Right? And there's like a blue sky over him.
Dragon Ball Z vibes.
Kind of.
Yeah, no,
right?
I see the vision.
But you're like seriously like on an astral plane, and you're rapping and singing. That's where he should be. I don't think he like. Again, I just don't think that the vision of that is there.
Is clear.
Yeah. Because there's so many other things that are happening that I just don't see.
I'm gonna give some info for you because I think you're right. It's hard to believe Drake wouldn't know this, but I think you're right, and here's why. I think that more trappy rap sound that we get from Drake. Yeah. But I personally think I don't love Drake on that. I think he can do better, than that. That's some people's favorite Drake.
Yeah,
and I think that is what personally we always forget is like, how could this be your favorite Drake? You could like this, but this being your favorite Drake. And the first time I saw that with my own two eyes was Still Here, off of Views, decent song, cool song. Not one song I went back to personally. I was like, this song's cool, whatever, but I got the songs I like more. I was out, and for all my time people, you know where this is, Sneaky D's. It was one of those nights where you used to get hot and sweaty, and Still Here came on, and you would have thought they just played the greatest hits of Vybz Kartel. Yeah. Everyone just went off. And I was just like, this is what it is? And I bring that up because I'm going to tell you all the songs that Still Here has more streams than on Spotify. Okay. And it's surprising to me, even though it's right in front of my face. With You, Drake and Party Next Door, Redemption, Western Road Flows, Hype, You With Me, 9, Grammys, Summer's Over Interlude.
Wow.
So all these songs that are, some people's favorite song and get a lot of play in the present from, 7 years ago, Still Here is above that. Yeah. So I think there is a huge audience for that Drake that we particularly don't like. But I want to talk about the Drake that I do like. Right. I have one song on here that when I got to this song, I sent this song to a few people. Okay. I said, all right, this is, and mind you, I'm gonna tell you how far this song is in the project. Yeah. To let you know kind of what the score is gonna be, but the song is number 13. Okay. So we've made it pretty far.
Halfway. That's like halfway.
Yeah.
That's halfway.
13 out of 23. Yeah, we made it pretty far. But Drew Picasso is one of the songs I think is like, this is the good version of Drake in the present. Right. It reminds me of Days in the East from that Previews Lucy era. And he has some bars on here that this is one thing I always think about with Drake. The production, some songs for sure, would be the highlight on someone else's album. That's completely homogenous. Some of the lines he has on here, some of people's favorite rappers never have one of these lines. Yep. Their similes are always comparing something to a gun or comparing something to a woman. He has some lines on here that, if insert your favorite rapper said this, this might be their biggest song because that line blows up. But with Drake, we're used to things like this. Now, on the last verse, after he's done all his singing, he says, in Miami and the owls with me like they put my ass in Gryffindor. Mouth dry over 20 that I never bother getting no prescription for. Steve saying you miss me and I won't say it to you, but I miss you more. Said we got each other back, then you put the knife in like the kitchen drawer. Way I'm feeling on this album, really took it easy on you, could have written more. If the shoe was on the other foot and it was me, it would have been guerrilla war. Since I got a soft spot for you, this would turn into a civil war. Artists hitting on you, broke as fuck. I swear them niggas probably living in Singapore. the athlete that you're rolling with. I saw his game last night. He didn't score. I gotta say a little more. Show you spots you never been before. It's fucked up that we was going once and now you're going twice like a bidding war. Why you act just because I go to the strip club? Girl, I don't love you. Used to listen to R. Kelly and The Whip, baby girl, and I don't judge you. I'm going to end this shit and let the 40 beat play before I snap. In booby trap, throwing more bills than your baby daddy trap.
Okay.
There's a few parts in there that I always feel like, this is where we take Drake for granted because some things don't have to be that deep. Drake doesn't have to reference, some civil rights leader we've never heard of for it to be an amazing bar. There's two that really set out to be. I'll see the one, this is not one of mine, but put my ass in Gryffindor. Mm-hmm. I know that's for the heads.
Ooh, Harry Potter people, get out of here.
I've never seen any of the movies, never read any of the books, so I'm unaware, but I know that's for the heads.
Okay.
I know that much. Then he said we got each other back, then you put the knife in it like a kitchen drawer. Mm-hmm. That right there is like, we've heard plenty of people talking about backstabbing and turning on someone. You audience, tell me, have you heard someone say they put the knife in it like a kitchen drawer? No. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. He's got good bars. I actually you highlighted one of the lyrics I wanted to talk about too.
And the one more is, it's fucked up that once we was going once, now you're going twice like a bidding war.
Yeah, that's what I had done.
And it's like, these lines I think we really take for granted because there is that Drake fatigue. Mm-hmm. And it's like a song like this, you hear whatever, how many years from now you hear those bars, your eyes are going to go up again as if you heard it for the first time. And so I think that is one thing I want to highlight because a lot of hate for this project. Mm-hmm. We have our problems with it. Yeah. But I think lyrically, he's rapping some of the best raps he's ever had, which also comes from that Pusha T situation, that Meek situation. Mm-hmm. I think since then, he's been like, I'll show y'all I rap. And I think his music has suffered in some points because of that. But I think this far in the game, this much songs out, for him to have lines like this is one thing I always respect Drake for that a lot of rappers don't have is, this rapper long enough. We're not that old, but this rapper long enough. Mm-hmm. You hear them repeat some things. Yeah. You hear some, some phrases come back. Some rhyme schemes be repeated. Yeah. A clear, culprit of that is...
He does that on one of the songs.
No, he does it a few times, but how much music he's put out, you think happens way more. Lil Wayne is someone who I've heard a lot of similar stuff. And
Eminem too.
And it's like... that's Logic. It's just crazy. But I think that's part of it is like, he kind of strikes that medium, which Kanye was the first one who was the best at this, of between like, I speak rap fluently, I can understand this. Because rap is its own language. If people don't know, it's like, your friends who don't listen to rap, it may sound straightforward to you, it was in Latin to them. Right. Rap is its own language. He strikes that middle ground of speaking the language of rap, of hip hop, but also speaking the language of pop for someone who doesn't speak rap fluently. I swear them niggas probably live in Singapore. They broke as fuck. Mm-hmm. Someone's like, I don't know why he said that, but I heard the word poor. So that makes sense to me. So I like that he still has that quality in his quote unquote more rap song. This is like, him kind of getting off at the end of the song. Yeah. And it's like, him to drive that line. That is one of the most underrated parts of rap in general, but of his writing, because, there's a whole generation above him, older than him, where the younger generation can't get with that. It's just too complex for them. Too many four-syllable words. You know that group I'm talking about. Like they hear Mos Def rap and they're just like, I feel like I don't know English anymore. Mm-hmm. Drake is for the group that's maybe not complex enough for Mos Def. Yeah, but I feel like they're too complex for Lil Baby. Right. So I like that he strikes that balance.
Yeah, he does. I would agree with that too. I do think that Drake is funny at times. I mean, there is times where I feel like he can border on it's a little bit cheesy, but he does have funny bars. I think that the one that we were talking about is like, show you spots you've been before. It's fucked up that we've been going once, now you're going twice, like like an auction, or sorry, like a bidding war. Mm-hmm. That's a funny bar, right? Also, double entendre. Yeah. Right. So it's pretty good. And then he's like, why you acting like just because I go to a strip club it means I don't love you. You still listen to R. Kelly in The Whip, baby girl, and I don't judge you. That is that's a bar. If somebody said that in real life,
that's a bar. That's a bar. Like,
so that's a bar. That's what I'm saying. Like, you still like,
He's still in shape.
Yeah, he can't. We're not saying Drake cannot rap. We've never said that. I don't think.
Yeah, no.
We've definitely been like Drake is probably I would consider like a B plus.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
He's like a B plus. B plus on A minus on a good day.
Yeah, I would say he's an A when he's right.
Yeah,
but he's a B plus most of the time.
Yeah, I would exactly.
Yeah,
right. So he's like he's getting 78% on his test.
He's not quite on a roll, but he feels he can make it every year.
Exactly. That's exactly how Drake feels. Trust me, that's exactly how Drake feels.
That's funny.
So I think that he's got good parts, right? Mm-hmm. There's always gonna be good parts. I would say that there's definitely we're talking about recycled flows where we're talking about first of all a song that we think is like Jumbo we think is Jumbotron shit 2.0 where he's like, what would Pluto do? He definitely A, right? Wiggling back in my old ways, A. And then here comes the part where I'm like, he literally just did this flow like an album ago, 2 albums ago, and it was like it stood out in that form where it's like bunch of sedatives, hypnotics in my system. Okay, right? Yep. Life is going just how I predicted. Okay, right? And then drop into 2 Cialis in her liquid. Okay, is okay. And it's like I ain't got a strap. I gotta risk it. Okay, baby girl Adonis the sister. Okay, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds good. I mean, there's a couple of more that he does with the okay thing. It sounds good, but the Drake fatigue is like I already heard it. I heard it already.
Yep.
I heard it.
Not your first time.
Yeah, I heard it recently too, very recently, to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, he did that before, right? Mm-hmm. Not like, oh, that's like he's bringing back a flow from Take Care or Thank Me Later. No. There's nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of my issues is like the recycledness isn't even only on production, right? It's also in the lyrics. Like you can see, like it's getting recycled. He's getting to the point now, like Eminem and Lil Wayne, where they talk. Like I remember Lil Wayne and Eminem were talking to each other, and they were like, I had to like Google
my own lyrics,
own lyrics to see if I said it before. Yeah. Drake is approaching that now, legitimately,
100%,
right? Where he needs to start, like his flows are like he's getting to the point where like certain flows, I'm like, I heard that one before, or I heard it in a single, or I heard it, like he's getting to that point where it's repetitive. It's getting repetitive. And that doesn't even, there's like a whole section that I was like, that I had wrote down where he has this thing of like repeating the same line over and over and over again.
He does it on first person shooter.
He does it on first person shooter, right? Where he's like, I'm about to click out of this shit. I'm about to click. Whoa, I'm about to click out of this shit. I'm about to click. Whoa, I'm down to click. Like, dude, like you're not Yeet. You're not Playboy Cardi.
You're not Future.
You're not Future. Like that's not like I get it if you do it, 2 lines in a row or something like 3 lines for emphasis, right? Obviously, but you're not that dude. Same thing in Daylight. Shot him in Daylight. And it's off beat. That part.
That's never been Drake's, I think, strong point. I think when he gets repetitive, it doesn't work. I think other people are great at it and they make it work. I've not. Can you name a song off the top of your head that Drake has been repetitive that's really, really worked? I think Drake is more like strong when he does a melodic, like a song like One Dance, where it's actually a melody that everyone's riding to. That is more Drake's strength. Drake getting his Future, his Yeet on, that ain't his bag.
Yeah. So, and there's even like Fear of Heights where he's like, before you get caught on a date, before you get put on a plate, before you get slid on skate. And then there's even I'm emphasizing the repetition via the repetition, right? It's like Calling for You, where he's like, I see her body one of one, yeah, I see her body one of one. Get to the crib, make you come, pussy sweet, call you my honey bun. Then it goes further down. It's like, swear you can have me, you really one of one. How you so nasty, you really one of one. How you so flashy, you really one of one. Stop, bro. Stop. I get it. Like. 101, I got it. Like it's not, and it's not. I don't know, the artists that we were talking about, Yeet, Future, Playboy Cardi, they take like a 3-word sentence or 1 word. Like for example, Playboy Cardi, jump out the house, jump out the house, or I'm on top of the building. I'm on top of the building. Fiend. Right, Fiend. Right. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 words maximum. Drake's doing full bar 4 or 5 times in a row. it sounds awful.
Yeah.
It genuinely does not sound good. And I wish he would stop doing that because it's not working. It's not working. The lyrics, you know, do you have any other lyrics? You want to talk about whether or not he's dissing Rihanna or not? Do you believe that? Do you believe he's dissing Rihanna?
He's obviously dissing Rihanna.
Yeah, he's dissing Rihanna.
I think we can move on from that one. He's obviously dissing Rihanna.
He's dissing Rihanna and ASAP. He called the sex average. How does he know that the sex is average? Is a little bit of an interesting question.
I heard conflicting reports, which I think is so funny. And I'm like, just imagine that the internet is out here arguing whether or not two people had sex. No, whether it happened. Whether it happened. You know what I mean? So I think that's pretty funny. I want to talk about his career and what this means for it, and even the cohesiveness or lack of.
One more thing with the lyrics. Do you think that because this is a major talking point for everybody, whether or not his lyrics need to evolve and become more mature? Is that a thing that you think is?
Listen, I was going to get to that. Here's my thing with that. I do think that a lot of this like ex bashing and you left me for a dude poorer than me, like. I don't need to hear that. I think that Drake is coming from a unique position, I think, in some of these things, for sure, being Drake. But you got to think about how wild it is for him to spend a whole verse dissing Rihanna. They were rumored in like 2014.
Yeah.
Imagine you're just out here on this podcast dissing your ex from 2013. You would sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know? So I do think there is something there, but I don't know that Drake is living this life people think he's living where he would talk about different things. This is Drake's life. You know, I think ultimately I want to be more vulnerable. If you think about Take Care, Nothing Was the Same, he's being very vulnerable on those albums. So there's still a little bit of, you know, fuck bitches, get money, I'm that guy. That's always going to be there as Drake. But if you look back to those two albums in particular, you know, songs like Too Much, even Tuscan Leather.
Yeah, Marvin's Room
is like, he's vulnerable in a way he's not right now. And I think what we've seen really is as Drake's been attacked more, he's become less vulnerable.
Yeah.
Scorpion is probably the last time we got like several songs of him being vulnerable. And then as he's become a bigger artist, he's become less vulnerable.
Yeah.
Which I think happens to a lot of artists. That's something that happens a lot. But that's my take on like him being more mature is like, I don't think Drake is living this, you know, 444 life everyone wants him to start rapping about. Drake's not doing that.
Yeah.
We know what Drake's up to. But I do think there is another level of vulnerability in his lyrics. Like I think about, I forget which album it was, but he talks about how long will I be here? Will this fame be done? How long will I be doing this for? You know, and then in the next couple lines he says, I'm gonna be here a decade from now. You know, where's that Drake to say, you know, it's crazy people still rock with me. What's my next step? Like even that level of vulnerability, because he's there. Like this is the time where everyone's waiting for him to fail. Yeah. Where's he going next? And the vulnerability in that. So I just want to be more vulnerable. I don't know if I need to talk about wine and art. I don't know if that's who Drake is. But, you know, just more vulnerability of where he's at. It's been 15 years, but he's in a unique position as a person and as an artist. Yeah. And I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think that he is kind of stuck when it comes to his lyrics because he's rapping about the same stuff. But the person that Drake was in the Take Care days and the person that he is now is drastically different.
Hugely
like
different.
His personality, I feel like his personality is so before he was the humility that Drake had. I don't think people remember. Drake used to be such a humble
for
artist.
Sure.
He used to like pay homage. He was like pay homage to Aaliyah, pay homage to Joe Budden back in the day.
That clip, yeah.
Yeah, back in the day. He used to have reverence for Kanye. He used to have reverence
even for his peers.
Yeah, even for his like Kendrick Lamar, A$AP Rocky. He has now evolved to this point where he has reverence for nobody. None, literally none.
As he should.
Zero humility, which is fine because Kanye West is just like that. Yeah. Right? But I feel like he doesn't speak to it in a sense that like the braggadocio, like it never gets to that point.
It's covering up the real feelings.
He doesn't want to, even though he kind of his personality is kind of like in the Kanye zone. Not in the dark Kanye zone. Yes, I'm talking about the like I'm the biggest thing ever, larger than life Kanye zone, right? Even though his personality is kind of there, he doesn't push his lyrics in that space. And then he also his life has changed pretty drastically considering significantly older now. He has a son now, right? That vulnerability never gets touched. Like he never touches anything outside of that original space that he was started in, and never
Scorpion
moves
was
it.
the last time,
Yeah.
because I've always thought about this, and this goes into like where the album is. Even Scorpion was a more cohesive album than this. This album is like, okay, we fuck bitches over here.
Yeah.
I hate Rihanna over here. I hate my ex over here. I got a plane. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's all over the place. But I think there was a time when he would talk about what's actually ongoing in his own mind.
Yeah.
You know, and on this project, I really wanted more of that from him, in the sense that like everyone turning on him in the game, like so many people who came up, you know, idolizing him, taking shots at him,
Yeah.
things happening behind the scenes. How does it feel to go through all of that? You know, that's what I wanted to hear more of. Like, even on the timestamp record, you don't get that as much.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
know, and it's like you would want to hear, okay, like people doubted you, people called you a loser for years. Now you're the biggest artist. How does that feel? A lot of your peers want to see you lose. How does that feel? So that was what I wanted to see from him more. I think ultimately there's two things that they make this project harder to like after it's been out. One is how much songs it is and the cohesiveness. There's a good album here if you cut like 9 songs. Like, you know, you gotta cut a lot. You gotta cut a lot. But there's a good album here that's like 13, 14 songs. You know?
Yeah.
That is one. 2, the cover. I think now hearing the project plus the cover, it doesn't really match. How do you feel about the cover now that we've heard the project?
The cover, you know, if this was the cover for, if you're reading this, it's too late, it would have been nuts.
Yeah.
It would have actually looked crazy.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
But its aesthetic does not fit the current album at all. First of all, I don't even think Drake knows what the cohesion for this album is, because again, that Snoop Dogg BRK radio thing just comes into the middle of the album and then appears at the end. If you're really gonna do this radio thing, which I don't really understand why all the musicians are just like totally enamored by that radio concept, but anyway, you would have done that at the beginning, middle, and end. Maybe sprinkle commercials or whatever that wasn't there, and then we have the dog. I'm assuming.
Yep.
Is you know, sure, for all the dogs on the cover, but
it doesn't fit that.
It doesn't. Yeah, like it's artistic value, which it does have. Even though Adonis drew it and he's a kid, there is like, you know, there's a primitiveness to it because he's a child. The songs are not primitive. They're not skeletal. They don't fit the aesthetic of like the cover in any way.
I think what I said before about him giving us every idea, that's so what this is in terms of like no direction.
Yeah.
If you're reading this too late, still had some slow songs. People sometimes forget that, but it wasn't all gas all the time.
Yeah, Jungle's on it.
And that's my point.
Yeah.
Jungle, Madonna, Legend.
Star 67?
Star 67.
Yeah.
Those are some people's favorite Drake songs of that ilk, of like the slower Drake, the R&B Drake. And even on those songs, it's the subject matter. You know, I think about a song like Legend. Legend could have been a rap song. If you hear what he's saying, like that's the braggadocio of I'm the best, I'm the greatest, but on a slower beat. Drake doesn't have any of that mix on here. When it gets into a slower beat, it's definitely more I'm sad, why you leaving me, he's broke. So
yeah, even the contrast that you're talking about doesn't really exist either.
It's not on here. So I think ultimately, if I'm being real, this will hurt Drake. I do think this is the first project where everyone's really questioning him. Yeah. I think this project though is gonna grow on people, and I think this is a very much like internet age. This just came out. Let's hate on it. I think like there's songs on here like the Sexy Red song, even Slime You Out is better now the project's out. There's a lot of songs here that are gonna grow in time. And once, you know, whatever Drake song you put on your playlist, you know, a couple months from now is on there, you're gonna be bumping that song and forget that you hated this whole album. Yeah. Because these are more playlists than an album. But I think the Drake fatigue is at an all-time high.
Yes, I agree.
Like so much songs, so much music, so soon, so similar. You know, subject matter is similar. Why I brought up that thing at the beginning about, you know, J, M, and Kanye is they all took a break. Yeah. And I think this is like Drake's break time. Now, will he take it?
Who knows?
Who knows? He did mention on Sirius XM that He's going to be taking a little break from music.
Mm-hmm.
He said he has some obligations. That's actually the word he used.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that means a joint project or an EP with someone. That's kind of what I'm assuming from that.
Go produce TV, bro. Top Boy was awesome.
You know, and so I think, and Euphoria.
Yeah, and Euphoria.
So I do think that this is the time that Drake kind of, I don't want to say it has to take a break, but the Drake fatigue is at
All-time high.
an all-time high. And the thing he's doing that other people are not doing is really putting out a ton of music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he could come with, okay, y'all need something to feed you, a little EP here, or, you know, a couple 2-packs or a joint thing with someone. No, he's putting out like albums and albums
double
worth
album.
of music. Yeah,
This is
albums.
effectively a double. In today's music climate, this is a double album.
You know, 100%. So I think that this project, it hurts him, I think, overall. Like, I think it's a net negative, net positive.
Yeah.
I do think it's a net negative
Yeah,
because
me too.
her loss really brought everybody back.
Yes, I agree.
I think her loss was like,
yeah, we were like, oh, okay, like he might actually be figuring out what he's trying to do, like going forwards. And
we didn't expect to like it as much as we did.
Exactly.
So I think that this following her loss is a bit of a L.
Yeah.
But it's Drake.
Yeah, I think that it's kind of an L too. I think that it just goes. I think this would put us back in the CLB zone, and I didn't like the CLB zone. I'm gonna to be honest with you, and I just think that I don't know. Like again, back in the CLB zone, I'm like, I don't know what there's nothing left to do.
Yeah,
there's nothing left to do, and Drake is not concerned with pushing the genre forward sonically in any way. He's not concerned with that. He did his bit. He did his part. He did his part in the early 2010s, whereas like singing and rapping became a thing because of him. So he did his part. It's not like he didn't contribute to the evolution.
Fair,
right?
Fair.
But currently he is not invested in the evolution anymore. I don't believe that. I don't believe that he's invested in hip hop becoming like sounding a certain way, or let's try to do something different for this to progress hip hop. I don't think he cares about that anymore. Before he did, not so much anymore.
Not anymore. And my issue is that I don't think Drake's fastball is just gone.
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue. It's like, you know, there's 23 songs on this thing.
Yeah.
There's
still some good songs.
There's a lot of good songs still, but there are certain parts like Jorja Picasso where you're like, his fastball is still there.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever he had, you know, a decade ago that made him one of the ones, he still has that talent. Obviously, big songs is big songs, it's Drake.
Yeah.
But actual, you know, either whether it's a hook or a bridge or a verse where you're like, this is why he's different. Some of that is still there. That was very few and far between. He's on his Anthony Davis type right now where it's like,
he only plays 40 games. He only shows up every other game.
But that's my thing is like, I want to see what comes next because, you know, you mentioned views in that One Dance era. You know, We Can Done with him and Popcorn still goes up. And maybe people probably don't know that song as well as they know One Dance, obviously. But even in that, like, you know, dance hall lane, he still shows he has something to offer there.
Yeah.
So that's my only thing about this is like, I think it's a net negative.
Me too.
But I think ultimately, I'm not out on Drake at all because his fastball is still there. And I think that it's up to him just to make the right choices.
Yes.
An artist who has as much, you know, music out as him, the caliber of him, you can't always rely on that. You're always, okay, you're past someone like Eminem. You can make a good song at some point. Not every song's gonna suck.
Yeah.
But your fastball is not there. We're not getting a Slim Shady anytime soon. Drake's fastball is still there. So I'm excited to see, you know, what he does with it.
Okay, we can agree to disagree on the fastball thing because I'm at the point now where we
have the same lyrics, so you know,
I know, but I think those lyrics are fewer and further.
That's why I call him the Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's still there. It's not like it's not existent at all.
He needs to start doing more features. He never does. He doesn't do. I feel like he doesn't do the right features.
Not anymore.
Yeah, he's not feature, and I also don't think he's bringing. Yeah, his feature work is something to be desired.
Yeah,
as well.
he's not like
when J.
automatic.
Cole's is actually strengthening. J. Cole's features going up.
Crazy.
They've been going up in late in the career. So
okay, this is the last exercise we're gonna do before we get to the score.
Yeah.
Now I'm not the only one saying this, but there is a good album in this project.
Right.
I'm gonna ask you for 5 songs that you would just take off completely.
That would just. Oh, okay.
5 songs that you just think gotta go, whether it's where they are on the album, or the song just sucks. Are there 5? I'm gonna just give 2 to start, just to help. And each of the same 2 you have more. One would be Virginia Beach. I think Amen would be a way better intro. Amen as intro would be good. And then at polar opposites, I think Away From Home would be a better outro.
Right.
So anything else you think you would just like get off this album and make this album a lot better?
I think you could take off All Parties with Chief Keef. I think that this is a good question. I think that Daylight, you could take that one off too. I think that Gently, the Bad Bunny one,
that can go.
That one can return to ashes, bro. I never need to hear that again. See, the thing with the Yeet song is that
can go.
It can go, but I want Yeet to be there. And I think his part was good, but overall, as a song constructed to be pleasurable for listening experiences all the way through, it can go. Because there are other good Yeet songs.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, so that's my handful, I think. How do you feel about the score? Because now that we talked about all of this, I want to hear your score.
Okay, so
I'm quizzical about it.
Drake's 8th studio album, For All the Dogs.
Yeah.
For me, it's
Fat D.
For All the Dogs.
Yeah.
For me, it's 6.5.
Really?
I do think this is a good project. I think this is really the Drake fatigue. Like, I've said this, from people asking about the album during the week, is like, if someone was in a vacuum, didn't know who Drake was, hadn't heard Her Loss, Honest Nevermind, there's a lot of this album that they would like.
Yeah. There's
not that many songs on here I'm like, this is just a bad song. Even the Bad Bunny song, which I think gotta go, isn't a bad song.
I agree. So go ahead.
So to me, this is a 6.5 because
that's crazy.
It's a good project, but I think it's more good in spite of what it is because way too fucking long.
Yeah.
This is an hour and a half. We together, I think, named 6-7 songs that just can get out of here, And then as an actual album, like a full listen, not a good album as a full listen. There are definitely, I think, good songs on here that will live alone. I think this is 2023. It's getting that bump from me of like, there's 6-7 songs here going to make everyone's playlist,
right?
And so it's like because playlisting is so huge now, this album sounds better for that. But if this had been, 2006 and this was just the album, the CD, the double disc, no, this would be much lower. So for me, 6.5.
That's crazy.
This is actually a good project. I think this is a good project.
I'm actually shocked by that. This is a 4, maybe even a 3.5 for me. I am severely disappointed by this. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I am too.
I think that Drake. I think that just strictly the album For All the Dogs. I think it's too long.
Yeah. I
think that the songs with the features like Yeet, Bad Bunny, J. Cole. Well, the J. Cole one is good. But the SZA one, Slime You Out, these are all that artist's song, but one of the worst versions of the songs that they've created. Right?
Definitely.
And then there's also songs like Daylight that are just like not very good. The inclusion of Adonis, I understand why he's there. I understand. Don't get me wrong, I understand.
We could be good.
He was hurting the song.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that there's just like so many songs that are just like throwaways. So many throwaways. Like, even though Drew a Picasso, we included the lyrics. Overall, that song, I could have lived without it. I feel like Gently, like I mentioned, could have lived without Polar Opposites. I don't even like, honestly, Polar Opposites, I think I've like, I don't know, like, I don't even know why this is here. Like, I feel like it's that one, it feels like, because of how slowed down it is, I'm like, this is literally a let down the song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the fatigue is real. I feel like the rapping, it's the same as it's always been. And the fact that there's no production evolution, no lyrical evolution, I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm just tired. I feel like most people are tired. I'm tired. So I'm going to say 4
Damn.
It could be a 3 though. It could be.
That's harsh.
It's not good, bro. Like
As an album, no. As an album, you know what? You're right. Let's put it down to a 6.
Yeah.
Let's put it down to a 6, okay? Because you're right. As an album, it's not. But this is my thing, and I think this is where I'm at with this. Is like, this is on a huge sliding scale, and I'm gonna come back to this project the next few rap albums we do because, you know, let's say I like 10 songs on this project.
Yeah.
The next rap album we do, I'm going to guarantee you I'm not going to like 10 songs off that project.
Yes.
It's not as many songs,
right?
But you didn't like 10 songs off of Doja Cat's project.
I agree. Okay, I agree. And I think that is also influencing people's like view of music today. And like, this is a little bit outside the scope of, well, it's part of this as well, but people are judging the album by like, I got 5 songs that I liked. I got 6 songs that I like, 7 songs. And just by the raw number of songs that they grab from the album is influencing how good that the album is. But it's like, no.
The album as a whole, you're saying.
Yeah. But I'm like, okay, if you got, for example, let's say you get 8 songs out of this, right? Or that are getting to your playlist or you like them, right? To those people, it's like 8 songs. This is dope, right?
But 8 out of 23.
But it's 8 out of 23. It's not good.
No, that's not a good score.
It's not good. Like, I think that the raw number is clouding people's perception of the entire body of work. Because if you're like, okay, I got 8 songs. Okay, you got 8 songs.
Yeah.
It's 8 out of 24 or 8 out of 23. Yeah. That's below average.
It's a fail, yeah.
That's a fail. Like, that's not good. Like, you should be able, if you're going to release 24 songs,
for sure,
you're supposed to get people to at least 12.
At least.
At least 12.
At least.
You need to like at least 12. So that's why I think for a lot of people, they get clouded by that. The raw number versus actually how many.
You know what?
Is
and this is what I think where we should end off. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I think people do have, like, everyone I've asked, the like lucky number has been 13. Some people have 15, 16, but the like average number of people I'm asking, like, how many songs do you actually like from this is 13, which you said you need at least 12.
Yeah.
And so it's like, again, this is not a great project by any means. It's not rap album of the year. None of that.
Yeah.
But you know, if you get the 13, and most people are telling me they get the 13, and people are telling me 13 after they say they hate the album.
That's crazy to me.
It's like such a like natural response for people to dislike this project.
Yeah.
But if I get 13 out of 23, you know, it's not a great score.
Yeah.
But it's just you have more songs to hate, and it's kind of like the numbers you're saying. It goes the other way. If I have 10 songs I don't like, when this album had 12 songs and I only have 4 songs I don't like, maybe a higher percentage, but me hating 12 songs is way worse than me hating 4 songs.
Right.
And so I feel like, there's a bit of that in here, but this is Drake. It's hard. I feel like Drake is in a place now where you can't listen to Drake in a vacuum. I think that I saw this post online that someone sent me saying that when it comes to Drake, he's such a celebrity that we included the celebrity into listening to his music.
Right.
And think about what he's doing in his personal life and who he is and all these things. And I said that it's too bad. You can't, there's no way around it. Even us who try to listen to music for the music, there's no way around it. There's no way around it. So I think that's part of who Drake is now, but let's make some predictions, okay? Let's make some predictions.
Okay.
Do we get a Drake album in 2024?
No, I don't think so. There's no way. He's dropped 4 albums in 2 years.
What do you mean there's no way? There's a way. There's obviously a way.
He dropped 4 albums in 2 years. It's just like crazy amounts of, like, it's just crazy. No, it's actually to the point where it's crazy. I'm actually with you.
I'm actually betting he won't.
Yeah.
But there's no way. I can't get with that.
There's no way. There's no way, bro. I be like, even 40 be like, yo, man, I can't do all this.
That would be in Drake's rollout. Y'all said there's no way. Watch me.
Please stop. This. Oh my God, watch this. Don't.
All right.
Don't.
I'm with you. I'm also saying there's not going to be a Drake album in 2024.
Yeah. No skips for this album?
What?
I just wanted to throw that out there just in case.
What?
Oh my God.
No, this is definitely some skips on this project. I want to know what everybody thinks. You've heard us go back and forth. You've seen everyone online say they hate it or they love it. What do you think about this album, Fat D, For All the Dogs? Make sure you find us on the interwebs, at Album Mode Pod on Twitter, at Album Mode Pod on Instagram, at Album Mode Pod, at Album Mode Pod on TikTok. Of course, make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Leave us a rating and a review, 5 stars, not a single star less. And of course, all my YouTube people, like, share, comment, subscribes. We got subscribe. We got new videos for you every single week. And of course, until next time, know yourself, know your worth.
Hey, people.